Boksu for sponsoring today's video. Okay, now let's be honest. Raise your hands out there if you haven't seen Samurai Champloo, because I know a lot of you haven't, and the real question is why?
I heard you guys talking. An evil ogre, huh? Do you want me to kill it for you? Huh?
I'm going to be making one of the most iconic things from the show, and that is Yakidango. Now, the first thing we want to do is actually soak some bamboo skewers. This is super important if you do decide to grill these later, so just keep that in mind, but it also helps when you go to skewer all of your Yakidango. Just throw this into some water with a container and you're good to go. While those skewers are hanging out, we're also going to gather a very large pot of water. Once you have your large pot of water, bring this over to the stove and start heating it up because we are going to need this to boil later. To make Yakidango, we need two types of flour. The first is Joshinko and the second is Shiratamko. Using both of these flours gives it a nice chewiness and has enough bite. You can also buy something like this Dango, which is both of those flours combined, but we're just going to make our own ratio. Grab yourself a large bowl and a scale and measure out 150 grams worth of each flour, your Joshinko and your Shiratamko. Once you have both flours measured out, just set that to the side and we're going to grab our water. You do need warm water for this because you're using the Joshinko, so just keep that in mind. I just use my electric kettle to heat this up. You're going to need 300 milliliters worth of water, but your mileage may vary, which you will find out very soon. Now, once you have your water measured out, slowly start incorporating your warm water into your flours. Using chopsticks to constantly stir your flour and adding in that water little by little will help hydrate all of your rice flour. Once you've added in all of your water, you're going to have somewhat of a clumpy mess. Once you can no longer really stir this with your chopsticks, grab a small bowl of water just to keep your hands somewhat damp and start bringing this dough together by hand. As I was mixing this together by hand, I realized that it felt a little bit too wet. The reason for this is because some of the dough may have not hydrated properly, or I may just have used too much water. I tried to bring this together with a wooden spoon as well, making sure all of that rice flour was totally hydrated, but I ended up defaulting to adding just a touch more Joshinko, which is my finer ground flour. This really did help bring this dough together, and it added more of a firm texture to the dough in the end. Using the Joshinko will give that firm texture versus the Shiratamko, so just keep that in mind. Now, after adding in about 30 more grams worth of that Joshinko, you can see you get this elasticity, and this is what you're looking for. They call it the earlobe test, so once your rice flour feels like an earlobe, you're pretty much ready to go. Okay, dude, you're done. Stop doing that. Now form all of your dough back into a ball, making sure that it's relatively tight so it doesn't really incorporate too much air and dry out. You don't need to let this dough rest by any means, but just having it in that nice plump little ball is going to feel a lot better to work with. You should be able to pick your dough up completely by hand and have it not stick to you, so that's super important. That's the consistency you're looking for. After you fully mixed and hydrated your dough, place this on an unfloured surface and cut it in half. This just makes it easier to work with, otherwise you can really just use the entire ball of dough if you really want to. Take that first half and cut it into eighths just to start. This is going to help you start to portion out all of your Yakidango. I portioned mine out to 15 grams. The biggest you really want to go is around 20 grams, but I feel like that's just a little too big, and anything less than 15 feels a little small unless you're really going for that smaller size. This is what your Yakidango will start to look like after a little bit of effort. Now measure each and every piece out first, and once you have everything measured out, this is when I actually start rolling everything just to make the operation a bit smoother. The second half of my dough I rolled into one of those Play-Doh snakes that everybody likes to roll out and then cut it up that way, so you can really do whatever method you want. Just make sure all of your Yakidango are around the same size. You can aim for 14 to 16 grams for each, and it's not going to make a huge difference, but the biggest reason why you want that consistent size is so that way they all cook around the same time. Your Yakidango should be this nice little ball of rice flour. Now go ahead and ball up each and every single one of your Yakidango, and you won't need any additional water or flour to help roll these up. They should roll just fine on their own. Once you have all of your beautiful Yakidango rolled up and ready to go, that water should be at a nice rolling boil. You do want to drop these in all at the same time if you're able to, so that way they cook evenly. Now when you do drop these in into your boiling water, they can stick to the bottom, so make sure you do agitate them just a bit so that way they don't stick completely, and it's honestly going to be a bad time if you do that. Now I have to throw a lid on my pot because it doesn't keep boiling, but bring it back up to that boil, and once they float to the surface, time them for about 2 minutes and continue cooking them while they boil at the surface. After those 2 minutes, remove them from your pot and place them into an ice bath. You do have to cool these down immediately so that way they don't continue to cook. You want to keep these in the ice bath only for about 5 to 6 minutes, just until they are cold, so that way they don't soak up any extra liquid. Now we have to make the soy. sauce. And for the sauce, you're gonna need 200 milliliters worth of water, 30 milliliters worth of light soy sauce, followed by 30 milliliters worth of mirin, and 15 grams worth of sugar. I'm also gonna throw in a pinch of chili flake just to give it some heat, which is very not traditional, but it's delicious. Also have some cornstarch slurry set aside to thicken this sauce. I started with 5 grams worth of cornstarch and 15 milliliters worth of water, added a small portion of that to my now boiling liquid because cornstarch activates with heat, and realized it wasn't enough, so I added in the rest of my cornstarch slurry. After I started bringing this together, it just wasn't thick enough. You want to have this thick enough so that way it coats the yakidango. I made a second batch of that slurry, added half of that in, and was able to thicken up my sauce. So if you want my honest opinion, just make a bigger batch of cornstarch slurry and use what you need to thicken the sauce that you're making. Once you have this beautiful looking glaze, go ahead and kill the heat and let it hang out. At this point, you can probably remove all of your yakidango, and as you can see, there is still some ice in my bowl and I didn't let it melt completely. This tells me that I didn't soak it too long and I'm gonna be good to go. Now place all of your yakidango in a separate container, trying not to stack them if possible. The less you stack the yakidango, the less they'll be hurt, and now we have all this beautiful yakidango. Now grab all of your bamboo skewers out of that water and start skewering your yakidango. Traditionally, you would have about 5 pieces of yakidango on each skewer, but in Samurai Champloo, they always had 4 on each skewer, and I don't know if that's just an artistic choice. Maybe they had a hard time drying 5, whatever the case is. When you put your yakidango on the skewer, make sure that the top yakidango covers the tip of that skewer, so when you go to eat it, it doesn't just stab you in the mouth. This is what your yakidango should start looking like. Since I had a weird number of yakidango, I made a couple of skewers with 5 on them, and Paul, you had to show people the ugliest skewer you made. Grab the other one. This one's a little bit better, but it's still, what's with the top one? It's like you took your thumb and jabbed the top of it. Yeah, grab the other one with 4 on it. What is, can you not skewer things? Now grab all of your sauce and place this into a taller cup. The reason why you want to place it into a cup is so that way we can actually dip the yakidango directly into this. Alternatively, you can place these all on a plate and put your sauce right on top of it, but I like dipping them because you get this really nice coating. Like, look at how beautiful this looks with that glisten, that shine, that good. Having it fully coated with your sauce just makes it taste that much better. Now, when you do your yakidango like this, I highly recommend only dipping and saucing the ones you're going to eat immediately. If you sauce everything ahead of time, you're going to run into the issue of the sauce getting weird in the fridge, and it's just not going to set up properly. So just sauce the ones you want to eat, and look at that. I like to finish mine with just a touch of black sesame seed for some color, and there it is, the yakidango from Samurai Champloo and probably like 200 or 300 other anime. And before we eat this snack, I want to talk to you about some other snacks. Boksu is a snack subscription service out of Japan where they handpick and curate special boxes for each and every month. Each month they create a theme based around their snacks and teas, and they ship that directly to you straight from Japan, so you know it's super authentic. What I really like about Boksu is that they do pair their teas with snacks, and if you know me, I do like making sure I pair my drinks with my food. Tea should be no different. Each Boksu is literally jam-packed full of goodies, and it's going to last you quite a while as long as you have a little bit of self-restraint, just like a little bit of self-restraint. What's awesome about Boksu is that some of the snacks that are actually in Boksu you can't get anywhere else. They work with local snack makers in Japan to make sure they can provide a product that not only stands out but is exclusive to Boksu. For instance, these white strawberries you can't get anywhere else, so if you want to try something new and something exciting, you have to try it through Boksu. With everything that's happening right now, and someone who's been in the restaurant industry for basically my entire life, I really do appreciate when companies try to work with snack makers, food purveyors, and restaurants directly just to make sure that they thrive. If you're looking to be a part of your very own Ghibli movie, subscribe to Boksu down below with my link and save yourself 10% off and $47 off of your subscription. Thank you to Boksu again for sponsoring today's video. There it is, guys, the Yakidango from Samurai Champloo. Now, I know there wasn't sesame seed as the garnish in the show, but I think it adds a nice touch to it, and it is somewhat common. And also the chili flake, that's totally up to you. If you don't want to add chili flake, don't add chili flake. But now I got sweet, salty, spicy, everything is in this one little bite. So cheers. No, that's not happening. I'm glad I didn't put all 4 in my mouth because it's only Gandalf and Lucian here. If I started choking on this mochi, it would be a not fun time for me. But it is sweet, it's salty, it's chewy, it's spicy. It has this really like nice texture to it, even though I had to add a little bit more mochi flour to this. This is a perfect little snack. I absolutely love this. I'm probably gonna eat a couple more of these and just make some eggs with it and call it a day. If you guys want to support the channel directly, check out the links below for my brand new shirts that we just put up over on Teespring. My name is Chef PK. Get subscribed, and remember, keep playing with your food. This is easy. It's delicious. Go listen to some lo-fi.